Welcome to a weekend eats video. We're going to be starting off with dinner on Friday night. And I had a lot of tortillas left from this package I purchased at Costco. I had been wanting to make quesadillas, and tonight was the night. I had some ground chicken I purchased, taco seasoning. I also have a can of corn and a can of black beans. I did a quick Google search just to kind of see what I could add to it, and I had all of those ingredients, so I decided to make it. I'll link the recipe down below. I just kind of used it for inspiration. So I have an onion, a nice yellow bell pepper, and a couple of sweet red peppers. So I diced them all up. I went ahead and drained the corn, and then also drained and rinsed the black beans. So we're going to move over to the stove. I'm going to put my ground chicken in here. Now you could use ground beef, you could use ground turkey, you could also use ground pork, or you could keep it meatless if you wanted to and just use a lot of beans for the protein. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the onions and the peppers and just start cooking this, just because I find ground chicken is a little bit kind of bland. I just want to go ahead and cook the peppers and the onions to get a little bit of the flavor, and then as they cook down, the juices kind of come out. And I found ground chicken is really dry too, so I didn't have to add any oil to this. And then I'm also going to go ahead and shred some cheese, and then I have one box of macaroni and cheese in my pantry, so I thought this would be good for a side and kind of clean a lot of stuff out. So anyways, everything has cooked down, so I'm going to go ahead and add my taco seasoning in here. And instead of adding water, I'm going to go ahead and add some chicken broth, because I had a container open in my refrigerator, and you know, it only lasts for so long. It's been in there for a couple of days, and I thought this would add some more flavor to this, and also it would help reduce the waste of it. So anyways, I'm also going to put a tablespoon or so of tomato paste in here. I like to, kind of keep a tube handy, because I find like 1 tablespoon of tomato paste can really go a long way, and this is going to add a lot of flavor and also thicken it up a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and add in our corn and our beans and just kind of get this all worked in together. For quesadillas, I usually put a little bit of sour cream on salsa on the plates, and it all gets mixed in together. And I thought I'd go ahead and mix them together in a bowl and then break them down into the little bowls just to have as kind of sides. And part of this is I want to encourage our son with new flavors and new textures, so that way he's comfortable with it. He sees us dipping, then he is more likely to try it too. I also had some green onions that were already sliced in the refrigerator, so I just put a little bit on 2 bowls, one for myself and one for my husband. And then this was kind of like when the Hot Mess Express started. I'm trying to get used to my cast iron pan, so I have my tortilla, put a little bit of cheese, put the filling, and then put some more cheese in here. And then I like to fold it over. I find it's a little bit easier, and then as you cut them, they kind of stick together a little bit better. And the first one, I didn't spray my pan. It stuck to it. It was just kind of a mess. But then the second and third ones turned out fine. But in the past, what I would do is I would just go ahead and do this and then do it in the oven. I actually found it was quicker and easier and less of a mess. So that is what I would do next time. But I thought I would be able to do it. And as you can see, my husband's and my son's quesadillas turned out really good. I ended up with the first one that was just kind of falling apart, but it was delicious. Everybody really enjoyed tonight's dinner, and it is something I will definitely make again. It is now Saturday night, and we are starting off with homemade French fries. I had brought in 3 nice large potatoes, but I decided only to use 2 because I found that was going to be enough French fries for us. So I'm just cutting them up. I leave the skins on. They're French fries. They're going to be eaten, and it just saves a little bit of time. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut them up, and then I'm going to put them in some nice cold water with salt. And then I'm just going to go ahead and cut up some onions and mushrooms, because I got some really nice fresh buns when I got some groceries the day before, and I am going to be making steak sandwiches for dinner. And I think this is going to be a hit. This is something I've actually kind of been looking forward to making. I've done this in the past, kind of Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. So the potatoes, I am going to go ahead and dry them off. I rinsed them really well. I have my oven preheated to 425 degrees, and I just want to make sure I get all the water off. Put them into a bowl, and then I'm just going to go ahead and drizzle a little bit of olive oil on them, and then also some salt and pepper. And then I have a cookie sheet with some parchment paper on there, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put them on a single layer on the sheet, and then put them into the oven for anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. I have some butter in my pan, and I'm going to go ahead and add the mushrooms and onions and just start to cook them down a little bit. I'm also going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. These were the last of the mushrooms that I had in my refrigerator, and onions are always a staple, and carrots. I find those are the two things I usually have in my home. And then mushrooms and peppers are something that I always like to have, because I find if I have them in my fridge, I can always come up with something for dinner. So they have cooked down nicely. I'm going to add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce to them and just turn my heat right down. And then I have my other pan on the stove top heating up, and then we're going to start to prep the steak. So the two steaks that I took out had bones on them and there was some fat, so I trimmed them all down, and I'm just putting some Montreal steak spice on here. This is my favorite. I love to put this on French fries too, but since I was putting on the steaks, I thought it would be a little bit too much, so I just kept it simple with salt and pepper. So back over to the oven, stovetop, and very happy with the onions and mushrooms, turning the heat right down, and then I'm just kind of checking my pan, putting in a little bit of butter here too so the steaks don't stick. Now, in the past, I have tried to cook steaks in a cast iron pan, like using my black ones. It never worked out because I never knew how to regulate my heat. I would always have it so hot, and then I would keep the heat up high. And I feel like the last couple of weeks, as I've been using these more, I kind of see how to regulate the temperature, and I'm really hoping that these turn out. So I'm going to let them cook for about 3 to 4 minutes per side. I'm going to go ahead, grate up a little bit of cheese, and then I'm just going to go ahead and take 3 of the buns, cut them in half, and go ahead and put them on another cookie sheet so they are ready to start making the steak sandwiches. And then that way I can put them in the oven, melt the cheese, and have everything come together. So that will go in once the potatoes are done. So we're going to go back to the stovetop, and the steaks are looking pretty good. I probably could have left them a little bit longer, but I wanted to flip them over because I didn't want to overcook them. I find that's really important. So I'm very happy with the way that the steaks turned out. And then I'm just going to put tin foil on them and let the juices kind of settle. And then my pan is really hot, so I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of water in here. And my husband is like, look at that flavor. He goes, look at that broth. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I probably should have put the steak and the onions and mushrooms like kind of together and then drizzled it over top. But I wanted to keep everything pretty simple. So my potatoes weren't browning up, and I still have a few minutes left, so I decided to put them in the air fryer, see if I can quickly air fry them, try to crisp them up a little bit, but I was definitely running out of time, and I just wanted to kind of get everything assembled. So as I'm trying to make the sandwiches and everything, the potatoes are in the air fryer, hopefully all coming together. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to take a little bit of that nice broth from the steaks, the water that I add to it. You can see the nice brown flavor, you know, it picked up all the bottom. So I just added a little bit of that to the onions and mushrooms just to give it a little bit more flavor. There's the steaks. Oh my goodness, they were cooked to perfection. I was very, very happy with them. And like my husband's like, can I try a piece? I'm like, here, try it. And he's like, yeah, it was really good. I was so proud that I finally cooked a perfect steak in a cast iron skillet. It was almost disappointing that I was putting these on sandwiches, but you have to learn how to do things, and this will be really nice. Even in the summer, it might be even a little bit easier to, cook it if it starts to rain or something. So anyways, there is Hunter keeping an eye on everything, and now this is kind of like when all of the assembly and everything is starting. So I'm putting a little bit of steak sauce on the sandwiches too, just to give them a little bit more kind of kick, and then the meat can stick to them. So it's really just going to kind of be an assembly. I'm going to put some meat, I'm going to put the onions and mushrooms and a little bit of cheese. Then I'm going to put it into the oven, kind of broil it up a little bit. All it did was kind of make a big mess because the buns weren't really flat. I think this would have been a lot nicer to kind of do it on a large like French loaf of bread and then kind of cut it up. I think it would have been a lot easier to kind of make it instead of these small little sandwiches where everything was kind of falling off. So if I was going to do this again, that's exactly what I would do. I would get a nice loaf of French bread. I think it would be a lot easier. You can just cut it down and then you're kind of working with a flat surface. So there's also a little bit left over, and now I'm just trying to get everything together, get all of my timings and everything, and try and get dinner plated up so we can enjoy these delicious things. But I always love seeing what Hunter is doing whenever I am in the kitchen. So here's the sandwiches, trying to get the tops put together, cut them in half without losing half of the filling, and then get the French fries and a little bit of ketchup on the plate so we can have a really nice dinner tonight. Just something different that I don't normally do. And I was really kind of in the mood for some nice sandwiches. And especially when I saw these fresh buns being dropped off by the bakery at the grocery store, I thought they would be a perfect addition to these delicious steak sandwiches. Here is the plated dinner. The fries browned up nicely. There is the sandwiches. They were so good. A little bit of ketchup for dipping. And I thrifted these plates years ago, and I love putting like sandwiches and soups and burgers and fries on them. It was a really nice dinner. Everybody loved it. But next time I would definitely go with the French bread. It is now Sunday, and for lunch I'm going to take all of the leftover stuff from the quesadillas and I'm going to make enchiladas. So I did a quick Google search, found a recipe for the sauce. I will link it down below. It had really good reviews, and I had all of the ingredients. So it said to measure everything out and have it ready on the stovetop when you go to make it. So just flour, your spices, tomato paste. Once again, this tube is so handy. I needed like a tablespoon the other night, 2 tonight, and then I'm finishing off the chicken broth. The recipe called for vegetable broth. There's lamb chop. He was in the kitchen helping me, but he was kind of in the way, so I had to get Linus to move him. This is working out beautifully. It's staying organized. It's easy to grab everything that I need. So I'm very happy that that's working out. So we're back over to the stove top, and the recipe will be linked down below. So you start off with your oil, then you add in your flour and your spices, and then you cook it for about a minute. And then I think you add the tomato paste, and then slowly add the broth to it. And then you just kind of keep whisking it, bring it to kind of a little bit of a simmer. Just make sure it's thickening up and just keep whisking it. Now, enchilada sauce is something that isn't really easy to find where I live. I think there might be one grocery store that sells it. I don't think it's something that's very common where I live, but it was actually my husband's recommendation to make that because I've gotten a couple of quesadilla recipes from HelloFresh and they were really good. And my husband said, it's a great way to use all of this up. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to give it a try because I was actually going to make it on Monday night for dinner, but I have some appointments and all of that are going to be running later. And I wanted to go ahead and make this for lunch just because I wanted to make sure that our son liked it. And I found it would probably be better the next night. Anyways, I find things sometimes are better whenever they're heated over. But even when I was a child, like tacos, we never had tacos. My parents were meat, potatoes, and a vegetable. We'd have spaghetti every so often and rice. That was definitely what we had for dinner. And every once in a while we get a pizza. So I'm adding in, it said apple cider vinegar or just regular vinegar. So I put a little bit of regular vinegar, and then it said to add pepper. I also put a little bit of salt, and then we're just going to go ahead and start the assembly. This was a lot easier than, making the quesadillas. I would definitely do this again. And I'm just putting some of the filling in. I think there was 10 tortillas left, and they're not all going to fit in this pan, but I'm just kind of, going with it. The first ones were a little bit messy, but as it kept going on, I felt like it got easier and easier. And that's really all what I'm really doing for this dinner is just making sure that I don't waste anything. And I also want to have lots of leftovers. I used all of the filling and all the tortillas. I got 6 in the large one and 4 in the smaller one, just putting the cheese on top. You can see Hunter's little nose there. The enchilada sauce it thickened up really nice. I found it was a little bit bland. I think I could have used a little bit more maybe chili powder or even a little bit of taco seasoning in it. But I had the taco seasoning in the filling, so it had a lot of flavor there too. So here they are out of the oven. One got a little bit more brown than the other, but I'm really excited to give this a try. We had fruit and veggies to go with it too, and this was going to be very filling. So we just had one with a little bit of sour cream and some green onions. This was delicious. Our son loved it. He ate it all up. So I really like this dinner. I think it's probably quicker and easier to make than the quesadillas. So I took the 3 that were left and put them into a Pyrex container. So these are going to go into the fridge. Monday night, I need to have leftovers because I just need a quick, easy dinner. And then I also have some for lunches. So now it's time for dinner. We're doing pizza. So I went ahead and made some homemade pizza dough, That's the last of my homemade pizza sauce. We had dinner one night. I made buttermilk waffles, and then I had turkey bacon. So I cut that up for ham because we're having Hawaiian. I went out and got some mushrooms and red pepper, grated up the cheese, and then this is the last of the pineapple. I wanted to make sure I had some of this for Hawaiian pizza because we love pineapple on pizza. There's Hunter, just making sure I don't miss anything. So here is the first pizza. I just did it like we normally did. We rolled it out, put it on the pizza pan. I had stuff to make a salad. I had a romaine heart. Our son's going to have grapes. And then I just have this Greek dressing. It wasn't the greatest, but it's what we had. And then I have salad for leftover. And then I also had another pizza to go in the oven in the cast iron. And the pizza was delicious that I made. Everybody liked it. The pineapple was perfect. But the second one got a little bit too brown. I had it cut off the crust, but it was still good to eat. So I just cut that all up. We're going to have this for dinner on Monday night. And then there'll also be some left for lunches. So here's what my refrigerator looks like at the end of the weekend. And that was really my plan. So we have the salad. The pizza is in here to be able to have it for, dinner. There's the quesadillas to have Monday night too. And for lunches, cantaloupe, the pineapple is all done. Strawberries are done. I also grabbed a couple more raspberries when I got the onions and mushrooms. So here's all of my vegetables in here. Lots to get me through the week. Everything is organized. I love the way that my fridge is set up. And then I have some of the steak and mushrooms. So I said to my husband, would you like a sandwich for your lunch for Monday? And he said, that sounds great. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that tonight. I have lots of eggs, yogurt, lots of cheese, and, our cream, our milk and everything. So here's my hubby's sandwich with some cantaloupe and then the cucumbers. And then I just took the last 4 buns, put them in the Ziploc, and then I'm going to put them into the freezer for whenever we need them. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Instead of kind of doing a food prep, I took some of our meals to kind of make them stretch and to help me on a night where I kind of need to have dinner ready. I hope it gave you some ideas, and I really hope you enjoyed watching. So I hope you all have a great day, and we will talk to you all very soon.